Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hard4Games channel. We are your hosts. I'm Tony.
And I'm John.
John, what are we rocking today, sir?
Oh, I've been in a nostalgic mood. Almost like we run a retro gaming channel.
Almost.
So I've really been feeling the urge to play Mystical Ninja Starring Goemon.
Yes.
For 64.
Yeah. It was the first of two Mystical Ninja titles for the N64. If this one goes well, maybe we'll cover the other one at some point in the future. This is sort of as if Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time had a love child, but a little bit more toward the Mario 64 end.
There were all those platformers that really wanted that 64 action. There were tons of them during that period. And this one also tried to have a bit more of a large, big, sprawling map, or as large as a map could be.
Yeah.
In that
Maps
period.
can only be so big.
And carts can only be so large.
Yes. So, we're rocking this as a review today. Let's get started.
All right.
This is Hard4Games. They're Hard4Games. They become hard. They're Hard4Games.
Yeah, I always wanted to revisit it because I remember really enjoying the combat and the gameplay.
And it's just such a wacky, different game. Oh, and this is the first time Goemon and, what is it, Ebisumaru appear in a game in English-speaking regions with their real names. Because the Mystical Ninja for Super Nintendo had a whole bunch of typos and all kinds of stuff, and it's a terrible translation. But they translated them as Kid Ying and Dr. Yang.
I like how the town's theme is the intro theme, but just kind of like more laid-back elevator music.
Easy listening. There's some amazing tracks for the soundtrack of this game.
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty fantastic sounding game.
Oh my god. Oh my god. So this game, when I initially played it, like, there were aspects of it that I thought looked really beautiful, then there are aspects of it that I thought looked really primitive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even back when it was released, when I was first playing it as a kid, I really enjoyed the colorful graphics and the big open worlds, but at the same time, a lot of it seemed kind of empty-ish and just not as, like, detailed, I guess. I don't know. John, what are your thoughts on the presentation and graphics here?
There definitely are some parts where it's like, really? That's what you're going with? There are parts of this where it looks really great, but there are also parts where it's like, I feel like they kept the polygon count a little too low. But I think their big thing was they just wanted bigger maps than anybody else. They wanted this nice big sprawling thing, and they had this vision, and this was the best way they could achieve it. There's one thing that really annoys me is, you know, a lot of those games like Legend of Zelda, like you'd press like Z or something and it would snap the camera.
Yeah.
This, like, I turn.
That's real slow.
That camera slew rate is frustrating.
I like how they knew that there was going to be pop-in with the enemies, so they actually pop in. Like, they, like, burst into, like there's a little bit of smoke, almost.
Yeah.
Like a little steam or smoke or something when they pop in, which kind of is a nice little way to hide the fact that they're like, hey, you know, they're going to pop in. This always kind of reminded me, too, of what Earthbound 64 might have looked like, because a lot of their early screenshots had, like, really, like, detailed areas, and then some areas were just super blank and boring.
Yeah, just big.
Yeah, just big, but nothing much going on. And a lot of the character models in Earthbound 64 were kind of quirky like this and very detailed, but then their environments they were in were very, like, underdeveloped.
So now we're at our first dungeon, which the dungeon has a compass, a map, a boss indicator. They're all called different things. See, look at that map, and like the 1 floor, 2 floor, 3 floor. It's just Legend of Zelda.
Yeah. And just like The Legend of Zelda, I've never found the map particularly helpful.
Yeah, this truly is the Dark Souls of Goemon games.
Like, you have to be basically getting the falling, like, off-balance animation to be close enough.
They get better, but for whatever reason, that one is just, like, very stupidly done. Whoever designed that one, you're a dick. One complaint I always had with this game was there should be more, like, okay, you get something done. That Lord should have been like, wow, you know, thank you for helping me, but my brother in Iga, he really needs help.
Yeah.
But instead he's like, thanks.
Yeah, it's like you have to go to the fortune teller.
Yeah.
The fortune teller should be like a last resort if, like, you saved your game, set it down, didn't play it for like 6 months and couldn't remember where you were.
Or you're just truly lost, like the fortune teller in Link to the Past.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Oh man, here it is.
You know, if this had better controls and the battles were maybe a little more interesting, this could be a game in and of itself.
Yeah.
Like, maybe this would be like your first boss and then you'd move on from there, you know, to more dynamic stuff. Yeah, I would not have figured this out as a kid. 5 yellowfish.
It's a whole bunch of weird fetch quests.
Honestly, this sucks. This is, like, not fun. This aspect of the game.
It starts with, like, there's so much that they should have just cut out of this game, where they're like, it's big, it's so big, and, like, there are really good parts to this game, but
Yeah.
there's so much fat that needs to be trimmed is one of the issues.
So, for example, like this, like, quote, puzzle here, it literally is just pushing a rock onto a bunch of different corners, right?
Yeah, basically.
Like how it clips through the gate.
Like all good rocks do.
Yes.
Well, playing a game like this sort of shows you why, like, Mario 64 was so good.
It was dense.
Everything was a nice little nougat of game. There were only a couple of big levels in that.
Well, a lot of them covered a lot of decent amount of space.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, you do a million different things for a bunch of different stars in the same space, different objectives, that kind of thing.
There was always a bunch to do.
Yeah, it's like, you know, the prime example that I always use is Majora's Mask's Clock Town. You know, the Clock Town is not a huge space, but there's a lot going on, a lot of NPCs that have a lot to say. They're on their own schedule. It's a very dense space. It's just, I go back and forth, you know, because everything's like, the character models are so detailed, you know what I mean? Like the shadow, there's a shadow for the very tip of her ponytail, you know, or her hair, really, it's not a ponytail. And, you know, she's made up of a reasonable number of polygons, like...
The FOV and some other things could probably have been tweaked to give more of, like, a sense of depth, but it just... it's
Wait,
rough.
there's a thingy over there.
Yeah. We'll get that later. You
No,
want
we
me
won't. No, we'll get it now. Oh,
It's a much
God.
harder jump than
You
you
do
think
it.
to
You
get
do
that
it,
one.
Daddy. Another thing about the platforming is that because the camera is non-controllable, it slows it down significantly because you're very much just waiting for the camera to spin back around so you can make the next jump. So you know, large areas, you have to move across them, and then simultaneously you're waiting for the camera to adjust, and there's just kind of a lot of...
We truly did need a second stick.
Or just map the C buttons like with Mario. You know what I mean? Like, or like a Z targeting, although I think this came out like a year before Ocarina of Time, but there were other options than just wait for the camera to spin around. So you see, like, this is like a pretty awesome set piece.
Yeah.
Like, this is pretty badass. Like, you're riding the back of a dragon, you're fighting some weird thing that was kidnapping dancing kids. I just feel like there's a lot of boring and confusion to get to these awesome set pieces.
Yeah.
Which is, again, just why I'm so mixed about this game. I think it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, with Terranigma, if anyone's played that game, it's the third in the Soul Blazer trilogy. Real slow to begin with, but becomes an amazing game. I think it's kind of the same thing with this. Like, you have to slog through a lot of it to really let the game shine. Which for some of you, that might be fine. You know, it might be there's an amazing game in here, But for some of you that don't want to deal with a couple hours of slog, it might not be the game for you.
As we leave, I'm saddened to say that my rose tinting wasn't as good as I thought it would be this time around.
Yeah.
But there's plenty more Goemon games that I quite like. Might do a few in the future.
Yeah.
Well, let us know if there are any you'd recommend in the comments below.
Yeah.
Right down in that area. Like, subscribe, ring that bell, all the other things the algorithm forces us to say. And, well, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Games.